Title, over 60. This one exercise is better than walking. Surgeon approved. If you are over 60 right now, I want you to stop for a moment and really hear me. Your body is not done. Your strength is not gone. Your future is not decided by your age. Too many people reach this stage of life and quietly accept the idea that getting weaker is normal. But I'm here to tell you, with passion and with absolute conviction, that weakness is not destiny. Decline is not mandatory. And there is one simple, powerful exercise that can change everything for you. Walking is wonderful. I love walking. It's calming, it's healthy, it clears the mind. But if you want to protect your independence, your balance, your confidence, and your ability to live fully, there is something even better. Surgeons, physiotherapists, and movement experts agree on this. The single most important movement for people over 60 is the chair squat. Now, I know what you might be thinking. A squat? At my age? Yes, especially at your age. This movement mimics the most essential action of daily life, standing up and sitting down. Every time you get out of bed, rise from the sofa, get out of a car, or stand up from the dinner table, you are doing a squat. And the stronger you are at this one movement, the more powerful, safe, and capable your entire life becomes. Here's the emotional truth we don't talk about enough. Losing leg strength is one of the biggest reasons older adults lose freedom. It leads to falls, to fear, to avoiding activities, to slowly shrinking your world. But building leg strength does the opposite. It expands your world. It gives you dignity. It gives you energy. It gives you confidence that you can still take care of yourself and the people you love. The chair squat strengthens your thighs, your hips, your core, your bones, and even your brain. Yes, your brain. When you challenge your muscles, you send powerful signals through your nervous system that say, I am alive, I am capable, I am not finished yet. That feeling is medicine more powerful than any pill. And here is the best part. You don't need a gym. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need to run marathons. You just need a chair and the decision to try. Start small. Stand up, sit down, stand up again. 10 repetitions. Rest. Do it every day. Progress slowly. And week by week, you will feel something incredible happen. Your steps get lighter. Your balance gets better. Your knees feel stronger. Your whole body wakes up. I've seen people in their 70s and 80s completely transform simply by committing to this one habit. They go from struggling to stand to walking tall and proud again. That is not hype. That is science and real life. So I'm speaking to you directly now. Do not underestimate what you are still capable of. Do not accept the lie that aging means surrender. Choose strength. Choose movement. Choose to fight for your independence. One chair, one exercise, one decision every day. You're not too old to get stronger. You're not too old to feel powerful. And it all begins with standing up. Strength is medicine. I want you to really sit with that idea for a moment. We live in a world where we think of medicine as something that comes in a bottle, something prescribed on a piece of paper, something handed to us by a doctor in a white coat. But one of the most powerful medicines available to the human body is not found in a pharmacy. It is found in movement. It is found in muscle. It is found in the simple, deliberate act of choosing to get stronger. After the age of 60, your muscles become more than just tools for lifting groceries or climbing stairs. They become the guardians of your independence. They protect your bones, stabilize your joints, support your heart, regulate your blood sugar, and keep your brain sharp. When you strengthen your body, you are not just improving how you look. You are literally changing how every system inside you functions. That is why I say with absolute conviction that building strength is as important as any medication you could ever take. So many people believe that weakness is just part of getting older. They assume that losing power in their legs, their arms, their balance is an unavoidable slide toward decline. But science tells a very different story. The human body at any age responds to challenge. Muscles grow when they are used. Bones become denser when they are loaded. The brain becomes sharper when the body is active. Strength training sends a message to your entire system that says, we are still alive. We are still capable. We are not done yet. And the benefits go far beyond the physical. When you get stronger, something emotional happens. Confidence returns. Fear begins to loosen its grip. Tasks that once felt hard or risky suddenly feel possible again. Getting up from a chair, climbing a flight of stairs, carrying a grandchild, going for a long walk. These are not small things. These are the moments that make up a meaningful life. Strength gives those moments back to you. Think about what really steals quality of life as people age. It is not the number on a birthday cake. It is the loss of mobility. It is the fall that leads to an injury. It is the gradual shrinking of the world because the body no longer feels safe or capable. Strength is the shield against that future. Every time you work your muscles, you are investing in balance, in stability, in resilience. You are lowering your risk of falls, protecting your joints, and keeping your mind engaged and alert. And here's the most empowering truth of all. You do not need to be an athlete to access this medicine. You do not need expensive equipment or complicated routines. You simply need the willingness to use your body regularly and intentionally. Even small efforts done consistently create real biological change. The body does not care how old you are. It only cares whether you give it a reason to adapt. So I want you to stop thinking of exercise as a chore or an obligation. Start thinking of it as treatment. Start thinking of it as protection. Start thinking of it as a daily dose of life-giving medicine that no doctor can prescribe and no pill can replace. Because when you build strength, you are not just adding muscle. You are adding years of freedom, confidence, and possibility to your life. And that is the most powerful medicine of all. Aging is not an excuse. I want to say that again slowly and clearly because so many people need to hear it. Aging is not an excuse. It has become almost automatic in our culture to blame getting older for every loss of strength, every ache, every limitation. We tell ourselves, I can't do that anymore. I'm too old. We say, that's just what happens after 60. But most of what people accept as normal aging is not aging at all. It is inactivity in disguise. Somewhere along the way, society sold us a dangerous story. The story says that after a certain birthday, the body is supposed to get weaker, slower, and more fragile. It tells us to lower our expectations, to sit more, to move less, to be careful, to shrink our lives down to a safe and quiet size. And little by little, people start believing that story. They stop challenging themselves. They stop using their muscles. And then they point to the result and say, see, this is just what getting older looks like. But here is the scientific truth that should light a fire inside you. The human body does not have an expiration date for improvement. Muscles do not check your driver's license before they decide to grow stronger. Bones do not ask how many candles were on your last cake before they respond to exercise. The body follows one rule and one rule only. Use it or lose it. When you stop demanding strength from your body, it becomes weak. When you ask more of it, it rises to the challenge. That is biology, not opinion. I have seen people in their 70s, 80s, even 90s make remarkable transformations simply because they refused to accept the excuse of age. They started moving again. They started standing up more, walking more, strengthening their legs and their core. And their entire world changed. Balance improved, energy returned, pain decreased, confidence came back. None of that happened because they got younger. It happened because they decided to stop acting older than they truly were. Age is a number. Behavior is a choice. That is the part most people forget. Yes, time passes. Yes, bodies change. But how quickly you decline is influenced far more by what you do every day than by the date on your birth certificate. When people say, I'm too old to exercise, what they are really saying is, I have decided not to try. And that decision, repeated over years, is what creates weakness, not age itself. Think about the message you send to your body when you move with purpose. You are saying, I still need you. I still expect strength from you. I still plan to live fully. That message is incredibly powerful. The body responds to belief backed by action. The moment you decide that age will not be your excuse, you take back control of your future. So stop negotiating with the idea that it's too late. Stop telling yourself that decline is inevitable. It is never too late to get a little stronger, a little steadier, a little more capable. The choice is always in front of you, no matter how old you are. Aging is real, but surrender is optional. And the day you refuse to use age as an excuse is the day your life begins to expand again. Consistency beats intensity. That simple idea has the power to transform not only your body, but your entire relationship with health and aging. We live in a culture that loves extremes. We are surrounded by images of punishing workouts, dramatic transformations, and all or nothing challenges. And many people over 60 look at that and think, if that's what exercise requires, then it's not for me. But the truth is almost the exact opposite. Real, lasting change does not come from intensity. It comes from showing up again and again. The human body does not need heroic effort to improve. It needs regular signals. It needs steady reminders that it is expected to stay strong and capable. 10 minutes done every day is more powerful than one exhausting hour done once in a while. Small actions, repeated consistently, reshape muscles, rebuild balance, and restore confidence. That is how biology works. Progress is not built in a single dramatic moment. It is built in quiet, faithful repetition. Too many people start with the wrong mindset. They try to do too much too fast. They push hard for a week, get sore or discouraged, and then stop completely. They treat movement like a crash diet instead of a lifelong habit. And when they burn out, they decide that exercise doesn't work for them. But the problem was never the exercise. The problem was the expectation that change requires intensity instead of patience. After 60, the goal is not to prove anything to anyone. The goal is to stay functional, strong, and independent for as many years as possible. And that goal is achieved through gentle persistence. A few chair squats every day, a short walk around the block, simple balance movements. These may sound small, but when they are done day after day, week after week, they become incredibly powerful. The body responds to consistency like soil responds to regular rain. Growth happens slowly, but it happens surely. There is also something deeply psychological about consistency. When you commit to small daily actions, you build trust with yourself. You stop seeing exercise as a punishment and start seeing it as a normal part of life, like brushing your teeth or making your bed. That mindset shift is everything. Instead of saying, "I need motivation," you begin to say, "This is just what I do." And once a behavior becomes part of your identity, it no longer requires willpower. Consistency also protects you from injury and discouragement. Intense, irregular bursts of effort can strain joints and muscles that haven't been prepared. But steady, moderate movement allows the body to adapt safely. It respects where you are today while gently guiding you toward where you want to be tomorrow. That is especially important as we get older, when recovery takes longer and patience matters more. Think about the mathematics of small habits. 10 chair squats a day may not sound impressive, but that is 70 in a week, 300 in a month, more than 3,000 in a year. Those numbers change bodies. They change strength. They change lives. What feels insignificant in a single day becomes extraordinary over time. So let go of the idea that you need to be intense to be successful. You do not need to sweat for hours or chase exhaustion. You simply need to show up again and again and again, because in the long run, it is not the hardest effort that wins. It is the most consistent one, and that is the great secret of healthy aging. Small steps taken faithfully will always outrun occasional leaps. Movement protects freedom. That is not a poetic slogan or a motivational poster line. It is one of the most important truths about aging that we rarely talk about honestly. When people imagine getting older, they often worry about wrinkles, gray hair, or slower reflexes. But the real threat to quality of life is not appearance. It is the gradual loss of physical independence. And nothing guards against that loss more powerfully than regular, purposeful movement. Freedom in later life is built on very simple abilities. The ability to stand up from a chair without help, the ability to walk confidently without fear of falling, the ability to climb stairs, carry groceries, play with grandchildren, travel, and move through the world without constant limitation. These are not small luxuries. They are the foundations of dignity, and every one of those abilities depends directly on the strength and mobility of your body. When movement disappears, life quietly begins to shrink. First, you avoid long walks because your legs feel weak. Then you stop going out as much because you are afraid of losing balance. Then you rely more and more on others for basic tasks. That process can happen slowly, almost invisibly, until one day a person realizes that their world has become very small. That is not simply aging. That is the consequence of not moving enough to protect what matters. But the opposite is also true. When you keep moving, when you keep strengthening your body, your world stays open. Strong legs and a steady core give you confidence to go places and do things. Good balance lets you walk without fear. Flexible joints allow you to live spontaneously instead of cautiously. Movement becomes the key that keeps the door to independence wide open. One of the greatest fears people over 60 have is falling, and for good reason. Falls are one of the leading causes of injury and loss of independence in older adults. But here is the empowering reality. The risk of falling is not random. It is closely tied to muscle strength, coordination, and balance. All three of those are directly improved by regular movement and simple exercises. In other words, you have far more control over your future safety than you may realize. Movement also protects freedom in ways people do not immediately see. It keeps your heart healthier, your blood sugar more stable, and your mind sharper. It reduces pain, improves sleep, and lifts mood. When your body feels capable, you are more likely to stay socially active, to keep pursuing hobbies, to keep saying yes to life. Physical strength supports emotional and mental freedom as well. Think about the kind of future you want. Do you want to depend on others for basic tasks? Or do you want to be the person who can still travel, explore, and take care of yourself with pride? That future is being shaped right now by the choices you make about movement. Every time you choose to be active, you are casting a vote for independence. Freedom is not something that magically disappears at a certain age. It fades when the body is neglected and preserved when the body is used. Movement is the daily act of choosing autonomy over limitation. It is the refusal to let fear or weakness dictate the size of your life. So never underestimate the power of simple actions. Standing up, sitting down, walking, stretching, strengthening. These are not trivial routines. They are the habits that defend your freedom. And protecting that freedom is one of the most important jobs you will ever have. One decision changes everything. That may sound dramatic, but it is profoundly true. When it comes to health after 60, people often believe that transformation requires some complicated plan, a perfect schedule, or a burst of heroic motivation. But in reality, it all begins with something much simpler and much more powerful. It begins with a single choice. The choice to stop drifting and start taking responsibility for your strength. So many lives are shaped not by big events, but by small, daily decisions repeated over time. The decision to move instead of sit. The decision to stand up from the chair one more time. The decision to take a short walk instead of turning on the television. These choices may feel small in the moment, almost insignificant, but they accumulate. And over weeks, months, and years, they quietly determine whether a person grows weaker or stronger, more limited or more capable. Most people wait for the perfect time to begin. They wait for motivation to strike, for a doctor to warn them, for a new year or a new month. But the truth is that change does not start with perfect conditions. It starts with a decision made in an ordinary moment. You decide right here and right now that you are no longer willing to accept weakness as your future. That decision, more than any exercise program, is what opens the door to a different life. There is something incredibly empowering about realizing how much control you still have. Even after 60, even after 70, even after years of being inactive, the body is ready to respond the moment you choose to treat it differently. One choice to begin moving again can set off a chain reaction. Strength improves, balance improves, energy improves, confidence improves, and suddenly, other good choices follow more easily. The beauty of this process is that it does not require perfection. You do not need to redesign your entire life overnight. You simply need to decide to start. One exercise, one habit, one commitment repeated day after day. The chair squat, a short walk, a few minutes of stretching. These simple actions become the foundation of a completely different future when they are fueled by a clear and firm decision. Too many people underestimate the power of that first step. They think, what difference will one little exercise make? But the first step is never just one step. It is a declaration. It says, I am choosing strength over decline. I am choosing action over excuses. I am choosing to fight for my independence. And once that declaration is made, everything else begins to shift. I have seen people transform their later years not because they discovered some secret program, but because they finally made up their minds. They stopped waiting and started doing. They stopped negotiating with their age and started investing in their future. That single mental shift changed the direction of their entire lives. So understand this clearly. Your future is not decided by how old you are today. It is decided by the choices you make from this moment forward. One decision to move, one decision to try, one decision to refuse surrender. That is all it takes to begin rewriting your story. And when you look back months or years from now, you will realize that everything changed the day you made that one simple, powerful choice.